domestic workers, of course, are in a very similar position to farm workers in that they often receive very low wages. How important is this minimum wage going to be?
Yeah, I think that, you know, what is surprising once again about the national minimum wage is that once again, the domestic workers have received the lowest increase, and the domestic workers will now still earn less than the farm workers. We are a bit disappointed in it because we thought that this year domestic workers will earn the same national minimum wage as set down for the farm workers, like 3,904.20. But we find that the minister made an announcement that unfortunately domestic workers will be left out once again, and we will only be eligible within the next review of the national minimum wage. And that could take another 2 years. So for now, domestic workers still earn less than all other workers, within the sector.
Why do you believe you've been left out? I mean, what happened that meant that your members are left out, that you people in your sector, but other people got an increase?
I think that we're not 100% sure, how they come to this conclusion. But what happened, they have asked us to make submissions. And with the submissions, we had the support of a lot of organizations that supporting that domestic workers should get the new wage. But I suppose as normally employers, or business always win in the end. And I'm afraid that maybe they thought that, again, domestic workers will lose jobs, and that is the reason why they still put us behind. But if you look in the reality of what domestic workers will earn a day, it's 159 rand a day, and if you find that within that 159 rand, domestic workers must still pay their own traveling to work. What's the point? And most of domestic workers are the sole breadwinners of their family. So we are hoping, and we are starting to work on it again, that we can speed up this, and that within the next year, that domestic workers will be able to earn the same. As you realize that the minimum wage will increase yearly, so we're hoping that, domestic workers will also gain the same minimum wage.
Is there evidence to say, have you come across many domestic workers losing their jobs because of COVID-19 and the lockdown? We understand that many people have lost their jobs, many people have less income than they did. That applies both to domestic workers, the employees in this case. It also applies, in some cases, to the employers.
Yes, we have experienced a lot of domestic workers within this lockdown, within the COVID-19 season. We have experienced a lot of domestic workers that has lost their jobs. We have also experienced a lot of domestic workers that has lost part-time jobs. The bad part about the whole thing was that domestic workers did not have access to the TELS fund or to the unemployment fund, and only many domestic workers discovered when applying for unemployment benefits that they were not even registered. And we also find that with the TELS fund, a lot depend on online submissions, and domestic workers surely don't have, the smartphones or need to go there. So we find that the Tsatsawu, we've been sitting with a lot of domestic workers coming to our offices and asking us to assist. It was a very bad situation for domestic workers because, once again, domestic workers was left out. And at this stage, we are still waiting for many domestic workers to be paid the unemployment fund. And like they say, they have extended tax funding. We are hoping that domestic workers will benefit. But it was a very sad situation. Like the Department of Labor has made a statement to say 250,000 domestic workers have lost their job, and not even so many percentage of that has gained or have access to the unemployment fund. We surely need to look at that, and we surely need to ensure that we put it on the table of the Department of Labor or the Minister of Labor.
One of the things that makes it difficult for domestic workers is that it's almost impossible to organize. In most cases, unions organize in the workplace. So if, for example, factory workers are able to hold meetings in the workplace, domestic workers don't work in the same place. That means for your sector, it's very difficult to try and put any kind of pressure, to organize, to even go on strike.
Yes, it is actually very hard to organize the domestic workers. and it's also being very, time frame because, like I said, domestic workers, many domestic workers are a scattered workforce, and for us to reach domestic workers, you have to make of WhatsApps and things like that. Also, the Department of Labor does not put a lot of effort in organizing or making sure that domestic workers do benefit from, from the labor laws or whatever is available to them. So it remains a big challenge to organize domestic workers and also a big challenge to ensure that everything that domestic workers have gained is implemented and not just remain on paper.
Myrtle Witbooi, thanks very much indeed. General Secretary of the Domestic Workers Union, South Sawa. Really do appreciate that. Thanks very much.